Hello, hello, hello. Test check, microphone check. What is up, all you beautiful treeple? Give me just a minute here. I am getting things set up still. We got to share this wonderful post and to our Ask an Arborist group because that's where all y'all are hanging out anyway. Nobody cares about this group right here, our Facebook page, but what you definitely care about is getting your great tree care questions answered. So we're going to go ahead and share it over to our live stream group. I'm your host, Matt Latham, and I'm so glad to be here. It's been about 3 weeks since we've done a live stream, you guys. We had a lot of life hit us. If you notice here, I got this cool thing. This is called a knee walker. And it turns out when you do Ninja Warrior and you're an old guy like me, and the stage is set up improperly, sometimes you wind up tearing your Achilles. So I did that. I wound up tearing my Achilles 100%. We just got back from the doctor yesterday. It happened a couple weeks ago. And I'm in a lot of pain right now. But we're going to have a great time together, you guys. We got some great questions to go over. I just got to figure out how to share my own post. Give me just a minute here, you guys. All right. We're sharing it to a group. Specifically to our Ask an Arborist group. All right, and we're in Houston, well, League City. Is there a feeling elated option? No elated. Giddy? Yeah, there's a giddy option. I'm feeling giddy right now because it's been too long since we've been hanging out together answering y'all's tree questions. All right, so we have shared it to our Ask an Arborist group. By the way, all of you guys who have been a part of this journey with me, I'm really grateful for you guys, and we just thank you so much for all your support. We are currently sitting at 17,100 members on our Ask an Arborist group. If y'all had asked me if we would ever reach this level, I would have told you absolutely not. It's probably not going to happen. But we have just been cranking out like 100 to 200 people, new members every single day, you guys. It's unbelievable to me. And I hope that's because we're doing a good job. I hope it's because we're giving you good value. And some of you that have been kind of hanging around for a little while, you've probably seen some of the drama going on in our group. I tell you what, we're not tolerating that in this group. I don't like people who take care of trees professionally for the most part. And I know because I are one. I also know that we can do things that most people can't do. And sometimes that gives us a hot head. And I'll tell you, you get some of these tree guys come in here, they got some snarky comments and things like that. And I'm just going to set the record straight. We are not going to tolerate that in this group, period. It's not going to happen. And as we see things happen, we're going to get rid of you guys. So just play it cool. This is just a public service announcement. Other than that, guys, check this out. I got to show you this. This is unreal. Ask an Arborist. That's where I need to go. All right. So here we are, 17,100 members. You guys, I am so honored that y'all would just like this group or whatever the reason be. But that you're just hanging out here with me and talking trees. And we've really developed a really cool group of people that have been a part of this group, both from the beginning and new people. But check this out, just so you know, I want you to look at that number down at the bottom there. And if you can't read it, it says 1,239 people in the last week. I know it's kind of blurry, probably just from cameras and focus issues, but 1,239 people in the last week. Now, I'm no mathematician, but if my math is math, and that's a little less than 200 people every single day joining this group. And I'll tell you what, my commitment to you guys is we're going to keep this a clean group, and we're going to make this the #1 group in the nation, maybe world, when it comes to answering great tree questions. So weird. Amity, do people I'm so sorry if I'm butchering your name. We're not tolerating that in this group. That's a good loop, at least. We're not tolerating it. That should be the loop to end all loops. That should be exactly the message that we're sending out to everybody, especially all you tree punks out there, myself included, is we're not going to tolerate bad behavior. Let me see. Try refreshing it, maybe, is the only thing I can suggest. Sorry, you're dealing with the tech issues there. I really hope it looks good from my perspective. Sammy here, by the way, is she's our newest victim to this group. She's my assistant / office manager, and she's amazing. She's created this really cool list. I'll just go ahead and show it to you of some things that we're going to go over today. So Amity, I'm so sorry if you're if I'm butchering your name here, but yours is first on the list. And so we're going to get to you here in just a minute. Maybe we need to work out these little bugs going on. But let's see. I mean, it just shows that it's playing all right. It shows on my end it's playing all right. But getting back to what I was saying, yeah, it's all good on my end too, Sammy. Sammy's here. She's our newest victim to the Arborist On Demand crew, and she is awesome. We're really excited to have her. She is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to really getting out there on the internet. She puts my knowledge base to shame, and we're really excited to have her here as part of the team. And she's just a wealth of knowledge, very organized, and her role is basically to keep me honest and organized and making sure we're delivering great value to you guys. So with that being said, y'all, let's get right into it. So again, where is it? Here we go. That's where we're at. So Amity, I'm so sorry if I'm butchering your name. I promise it's not on purpose, but she was asking basically that she needs help with an elm stump and choosing new trees for her space. So says, love this group, learning so much. Thank you. I appreciate that feedback, Amity. And we purchased home built in 1865. Guess what? We don't have those homes here in Houston. So that's super cool to me. I assume you're on the East Coast somewhere. It's had abandoned for some years, and the yard was severely neglected when we took ownership of it. We've slowly been working on making sure the house is safe, removing silver maples near the house that were at the end of their life cycle. And they do get to the end of their life cycle of it eventually. They're just structurally, they're not great. They're beautiful trees to have, but uncle-in-law helped us clear out the space next to our driveway, cut down all the various weed trees. Now we have a Siberian elm. Super cool. By the way, Siberian elms are kind of a rare breed after Dutch elm wiped out most of the elms in America in like the 1990s, 80s, 90s. And so the fact that you've got a Siberian elm is super cool. But going crazy with shoots from those stumps. Oh, okay, so you removed a tree. Now you've got stumps going on that are basically producing these little babies. Sorry, I misunderstood you there. But looks like we've got some. Yeah, I see that. Serious. This is, by the way, this is super cool to me because this is proof positive that trees are the ultimate survivors. You cut the dang thing down, you get rid of all the brush, and all of a sudden you got these little baby Siberian elms popping up. And that's a big problem, obviously. Now, here's what you don't want to do. You don't want to go in and just poison the earth because all that water goes through your sewer system, goes through our drainage system and into your water reservoirs. That then goes through a filtration system and winds up in your faucet. And then you turn the faucet on and start chug-a-lugging. And next thing you know, you got all these pesticides and herbicides and planticides and all that going through your system. So I'm not the crunchy granola, save the planet at all costs kind of guy. I think people are more important than trees, quite frankly, although we absolutely need trees. But what you don't want to do is go poisoning it like that. What you can do is continue to just basically suppress the new growth until it's gone completely. Now, my question is, get rid of the stump completely, or did you just cut the tree down to flush cut on the base and then get rid of it? So maybe if you can answer that here in the live stream. By the way, thanks for being here, Amity. I'm sorry. I'm not good with names. If you can answer that for me, did you cut it down or did you grind the stump? Because I'm not really seeing it here, but I do want to be sensitive to that and make sure we're answering your question right, because that makes a difference. Because here's the thing, trees are built for survival. They will do anything and everything in their power to make sure that they live and grow and thrive. And that is a genetic predisposition. And it's a wonderful feature. That's why trees live for thousands of years, y'all, and hundreds of years, even on some of the lesser species. Amity, woohoo! Thank you for clarifying that, and thanks for being here again. That's awesome. Yeah, so if you cut it down to the stump, what's happening is you've got all these roots. Now, the way trees work is, let me just go ahead and put it up on the big screen and get a drink of water first. I drink too much. I got a drinking problem. I also talk too much. I got a talking problem. But so you got this big tree and you got all these roots, and what you're left with is a stump, and that's great. So you got your little pith here. That's great. So what's happening is as the tree was growing, it had all these leaves. That's a terrible representation, but you get the point. So all of those leaves are producing sugars and carbohydrates and starches. And essentially, if we were to cut your tree down, dissect it, and figure out what it's made of, then we would find that it's basically made of carbon at about 45%, oxygen at about 45%, and hydrogen at about 4%. 4 or 5%. So I don't expect you to be a mathematician, but if I'm looking at it right, that 94, 95% of the tree is made up of C, O, and H, carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen. Every one of these leaves is going to produce C6H12O6, and that is what we call sugar. Very simple sugar, glucose specifically. And so what happens is the tree leaves make that sugar. And the sugar then becomes about 45 to 60% of it gets pumped down to the soil to feed the microbes. And the rest of it is used by the tree. It creates all that woody tissue, roots, stem, extra leaves, and all that. So throughout the growing season, as the leaves are producing sugar, it's using that sugar partially. Some of it gets stored in the roots. So what you're left with is you've got this tree that you cut down. Yes, you got rid of a lot of the storage capacity in the heartwood and in the trunk and in the branches, but all those roots are left. So then what the tree does is it says, holy cow, we just experienced a traumatic event where it was cut down. But we got to survive, y'all. So it starts taking all those sugars that are in the root system stored and even in the stump, and it starts saying, let's grow. Let's put out new leaves and try to keep this species going. And that's I call it genetic intelligence. The tree's trying to survive, long story short. And so what happens is you've got to stop that process. You've got to basically unalive the roots. Now, the most common way to do that is with stump grinding. That's a great thing. But you can even go very simple to your hardware store, and you can pick up some like stump remover salts, and that'll help to break those sugars and those carbohydrates and that woody tissue down, and that'll get rid of it entirely. Now, another thing that you can do, and I'm not a big fan of poison, Amity, but this is an option that you might consider, is you can go to the hardware store and you can get some Roundup, and you can basically take all those little twigs and sticks popping up from the root system. You can cut them and then immediately paint it with Roundup. Now, what happens, the reason that works is because the tree's response is to take everything in that area and suck it down immediately once it's cut. It's got to be really quick. So you cut it, you paint it instantly. That's got to happen very quickly because the tree's response pulls everything away from that area very quickly, and then it forces it to go down into the rest of the root system. Now, again, I'm not a big fan of poison because, again, it winds up in our drinking water, and we all have to deal with that. And God only knows what the long-term consequences are. But I don't know about you, but I noticed there's a lot of autoimmune diseases going around when there didn't used to be. Not trying to be a conspiracy theorist here, but those two kind of seem to coincide really well. We start using more poison, we all start to get sick decades later. Could be the same, could maybe not be. I don't know. I'm not God. I don't know everything, but it seems to be a pretty good correlation there. So you might want to try using vinegar. And again, you can just use straight. You can get the really heavy hitting stuff like 30 or 45% vinegar. Cut the stems, paint it on there real quick. The tree will soak it in, suck it up into the root system. And that should help you to mostly, if not entirely, get rid of all that excess. But your best bet, again, is maybe even to come in and grind the stump first, see if that works. And if you still get those sprouts popping up, then go with the poison route, whether it be Roundup, Triclopyr, or you can even use just straight vinegar. So hope that helps, Amity. Sorry you're dealing with that. Oh, what a mess. But that really should be the solution to your problems there. So hope that helps. We're moving on. All right. By the way, thank you so much, Sammy, for organizing this. She came up with this amazing list right here, and that is just unbelievably good. Helps us to really get the right questions answered, because what we're trying to do is provide a really good baseline for you guys to make sure that you're learning and growing, because trees are important, y'all. Here's the thing is, I've read too many studies not to understand. Oh, I'm sorry, Emily. I missed that question. Could I try and root some of them and move them away from the house, or just not in a good spot? When you say root them, I'm assuming you mean just like pull them up. Yes. And that's kind of what I was describing is you basically cut them and not like pull them up entirely, but actually cut them, because right now they're attached to the root system, right? So you want to cut them and then put that poison on them, and that'll soak right into the root system, hopefully destroy the whole tree entirely. But again, if you can use vinegar, that's better. Roundup's okay. Triclopyr is another good option. But either way, you want to paint it on there directly. That way it doesn't soak into the ground. Most of those chemicals are going to have a half-life and dissipate within 6 to 12 months. So they're not going to be impactful to our health. But hope that helps answer your question. So getting back to it, though, Sammy came up with this really amazing chart for questions that we're answering. This is kind of going to be a new format that we're using as we go on here. We want to be really organized and just give you guys a good overview and baseline of the trees that you love and live around. And realistically, guys, trees are so stinking important to us humans. And that's really been my mission for a long time, is help people with the trees they love and live around, because trees are important. People are important. But if it's good for, I got a rule is, if it's good for trees, it's good for people. And that's been kind of a part of my mission all along. So, all right, we're getting over to James's question. What's up, James? Thanks for being here. Posted that a few days ago, about a week ago at 8:45. Joined to get some help diagnosing my row of blue spruce that seems to be turning brown. Any advice and treatment options would be appreciated. Treating spruce tree fungus. Yeah, I think it's needle cast is what I was thinking. Cytospora could be involved with a combination of strict sanitation, cultural adjustment, and preventative fungicidal sprays. Fungicides cannot cure existing damage, but will protect new healthy needles. That's a very, very important point, Eric. Thank you for that great comment. I actually think it might be needle cast as well. Brian is one of our local experts, our group experts anyways. Chlorothalonil, Neil, is your best chemical for this. I like propiconazole as well, but I don't know the full effects. But here's the thing: before you go pumping a bunch of chemicals into it, you really, 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 James, this is so important. Prescription without diagnosis is indeed malpractice. So what I want you to do is go to your local agriculture extension, and what you'll do, here's a website that you can look up, is you're going to go and you're going to send them a sample. You're going to go on their website, or maybe call them and reach out to them and try to get them to advanced rhizospora needle cast. That's my thoughts exactly. The chlorothalonil, Neil, is an outdated spray for this and can cause phytotoxicity. I think, and that's why I was thinking propiconazole is a better option, but I'm not the expert. That's funny. Yeah, I'm not the needle cast expert. Charlie is actually a much better expert. He's up in the Pacific. No, he's up in where are you at, Charlie? I can't even remember, dude. I'm so sorry, man. He's a great he's one of our group experts as well. So you're getting some really good answers here. But needle cast for sure. Prescription without diagnosis is malpractice. So do me a favor, James. Click on that link I just provided to you. Find your local agriculture extension and reach out to them. They're either going to give you a web form or they're going to send you to a website that you can look up and send them a sample, and they'll tell you how to do so as well. But here's what I've learned is all of your local agriculture extension guys are going to be they're gonna it's really important. They're going to have the right answers for you directly, because the thing is they know locally what's going on locally. I'm here in Houston. We don't have needle cast. And so it's really important that you get that prescription first. So go to that website. That's my website, by the way. And it's basically just a link to, or a list of all the different agriculture extensions. And that's going to help get you pointed in the right direction. So if you're in Connecticut, you go up here and you're just going to click on the website. I got it linked up there and everything. So click on that. Excuse me. I'm sick on top of everything, guys. It's been a fun. Sever my Achilles. We're dealing with some hospital visits otherwise and things like that. And on top of that, we're all sick. But let's say you're in Connecticut, click on their contact us page. That's going to give you a website and a web form, or a phone number and a web form you can fill out and all that. And just reach out to them, because what I've found is all the agriculture extension guys and gals are true experts in diagnosing these things, and they love helping people that are genuinely curious and want to do the right thing. So James, I think that's going to be your best bet. Double check that diagnosis. You know, let's tree mulch, get this tree mulch from 10 feet from the trunk. Very good advice, Charlie, as always. Also, be sure the tree is getting plenty of sun. It's not congested area. That's very true. And you want good airflow. That's the other thing that's really important with that, James. So yeah, I think needle cast is a really good diagnosis, but we want to confirm that before we really determine that's what it is. And then I think propiconazole is going to be your best option. They may recommend you use phosphoric acid as well. Salts from phosphoric acid. There's a couple of really good ones out there. But what you don't want to do is blanket spray that throughout the soil. You want to isolate it to the tree. So you want to find a good local arborist. And again, for those of you wondering, isa-arbor.com, or you can go to treesaregood.com. And you can find a list here. It says verify an arborist or find an arborist if it'll ever load. Thank you, internet. Actually, that's the ISA's website's problem. So what you'll do is just basically click on find an arborist, arborist directory, find an arborist portal. Man, they make this complicated. And then you'll look up, where'd it go? No, I don't want that. Search by location. You're going to look up, let's say 77001 is my zip code. And that's not right. Oh, here we go. So over here, city name, let's say Houston, Texas. It's going to give you that. And you're going to look for advanced tree diagnosis. You're probably going to want to look for ISA board certified master arborist. But even if you can't find a BCMA, look for an ISA certified arborist, and then just hit enter there. It'll work. Hello. Let me try this. Man, I'm trying to give you like a quick, fun, easy way to do this, but it's just not working out for me, y'all. Okay, so go over here on the right side. I'm going to click on ISA Board Certified Master Arborist, Advanced Tree Diagnosis, and that's going to filter through a lot of the good guys. So what I think is ridiculous. Oh, right. I forgot to put a location in. Houston, Texas. So This is not coming up with the Houston, Texas people at all. What's up with this ISA website? You got to fix your stuff. Now we're cooking. Okay, so you got a couple options here. I know Dylan, he's a great guy. I don't recommend this guy, but you get the point. Is basically just go on there and you'll kind of filter through and look for tree people, tree guys that know what they're talking about, and specifically advanced tree diagnosis is what you're looking for. They'll be able to help you along. So hope that helps, James. We're going to go ahead and move on. I need to remind me, Sammy, to do a video about how to find a good proper arborist. That's going to be really important. Okay, so Phil over here. Where are you from, Phil? Let's see. Kids must have gotten home and been playing on the internet, y'all. We don't know. All right. Oh, that's what I need. Denver, Colorado. What's up, Denver? Denver, Phil. All right. So Phil's asking about fabric around the base of a large ash tree. No, yeah, no good. You got to get it out of there. Gotta get it out of there. Here's the thing, you guys. Those landscape fabrics, they're not the worst thing in the world. It's not going to unalive your tree in and of itself. Here's what it does, though. It blocks water transportation through the soil profile, and it blocks oxygen infiltration through the soil profile. Both of those things are, turns out, vitally important for your tree to live and grow and thrive. So whenever you got that stupid landscape fabric down there, it's actually putting a slow and steady stress on the tree. Now, I don't know. Let's see if the robots can tell me anything. Is EAB in Denver, Colorado? Yes, emerald ash borer is confirmed in Denver, Colorado. And so that's going to be a really, really big problem, because the thing is, emerald ash borer loves a nice, stressed, delicious, juicy, terrible ash tree to take advantage of. They're going to go after pretty much indiscriminately every ash tree on the planet. And they really, or at least here in America, and they really are. They're wiping out millions and millions and millions of ash trees all throughout the nation. In fact, I was just up in Wisconsin in November last year, and it was really eye-opening, because you read this stuff as an arborist, and I saw it up in New Jersey when I spent some time up there. And but whenever you're actually when you go through and you see an entire forest completely wiped out, and there's no trees that are standing, they're not completely unalived, it really puts a different spin on things. And so it's a really, really big problem. And emerald ash borer prefers those juicy, delicious stress trees first. And so you got to take away those stressors. The fabric barrier is no good. The other thing too is, and again, I sound like a broken record here, is you want to make sure to go to your local agriculture extension. And again, you could just click on here. I'll show it to you here. Just go down to Colorado, and you're going to click on the extension to coloradostate.edu. I provided a phone number here for you too, but you can click on that if you're from your phone, and you're going to talk to them and find out and see where exactly is the EAB and figure out what exactly you need to do. But you're going to want to get a proper arborist out there that really knows this stuff and really understands emerald ash borer, because it's a really nasty one, and it really is wiping out entire forests. So this is one of those. In 2002, we confirmed it here in the United States. It came over from shipping containers from China, and it's a beautiful little green beetle. Let's see if we can find some emerald ash borer beetle. Look at that cute little guy. He's so beautiful. And also just wreaks absolute havoc on trees. So emerald ash borer, they're gorgeous little trees, or gorgeous little beetles. Check that out. Boulder, Lafayette, Superior, Gun Barrel, Longmont, Lyons. So not quite where you're at, it looks like, but definitely really close. Looks like Denver's down there. I don't know the area too well, but Looks like you right down the street, you got emerald ash borer in your backyard. So you want to make sure you're staying safe. The best way to take care of emerald ash borer is to unalive it before it destroys your tree. Don't call an arborist when you've got half your trees unalived and you've got, you're wondering, is it this? Because the reality is it's probably too late. And so you got an ash tree, you got to get rid of that fabric. It's so important. But the other thing too is make sure you're staying emerald ash borer ready. You can do imamectin benzoate is the go-to treatment for it. It's a chemical insecticide. The other thing too is you got to make sure your soil is healthy and your tree has the exact growing conditions that it needs to really thrive. So hope that helps, Phil. We are moving on. Our next victim looks like Katie from New York. What's up, Katie from New York? Katie Daly. Hold on, I got a cough. Told y'all I was sick. All right. So Katie just recently bought a house in New York and has an apple tree, I believe. I believe so too. Looks like an apple tree anyways. In my backyard, a couple dead limbs. Sorry. And some additional, excuse me, I can't say DEAD. I need to say unalived limbs higher in the canopy. Decent amount of new growth and leaves and some growing fruit now, but I don't know if that's just its last ditch effort to survive. No visible pests and the leaves look fine. The area does get full sun, but it is in between two huge trees, maybe like 60 feet plus. They're each about 15 feet apart. Is this tree salvageable? Savable? Of course, Red, you should cut back the unalived areas. I'm happy to do so. Look for any and all advice you guys may have. You guys may have from folks with experience before doing anything. Great. That's called wisdom. It's, I don't make decisions. Check it out. I got this bum leg over here. Here. I'll show you. I got this leg here. My foot is separated from my calf muscle right now. There is no tendon there holding it on, and it hurts really bad. But you know what I didn't do? I didn't just diagnose it myself and hope for the best. I went to a doctor. I went to somebody who's a trained professional. And specifically, I went to the hospital first. But specifically, I went to an orthopedic surgeon because I want the best of the best of the best that knows this stuff and understands it fully. So you don't want to have your landscaper come out and just give you a really probably weird diagnosis. You want to hire an arborist, somebody that's specifically trained in tree care proper. So, by the way, John, thanks for coming in. Yes, ask your question, and as soon as we're done with Katie's here, I'll go and try to answer it. Love that you're here. Thanks for being here, man. I'm assuming John's your name. So, but anyways, back to this. Is this tree savable? Yes, but no tree is forever, right? It's just like no humans forever. No trees are forever as well. Now, you got a lot of bark missing here. That's really, really bad. I see what appears to be potentially borer damage, B-O-R-E-R. And I see a tree that is really stressed out and in decline. So, unfortunately, I would not give it like, you got decades worth of life left in this. What I'd probably say is your tree's been in decline for quite some time. It looks like it's had some beatings taken to it. And I see the two trees back here. What I'd probably do if I were you is maybe plant another apple tree right next to it. Maybe start another one growing because it's really fun. I mean, you're in New York. Apples grow really well there. Here in Texas, they don't. We got like three apple trees that grow pretty well. And they're both, the fruit thereof is pretty gross. So not a great tree to have here in Houston. Although we can grow citrus where you don't even have a hope or prayer. They just get frozen out up there. But yeah, I don't think you got a lot of time left in this. I think it would be best if you went ahead and planted something, preferably somewhere out in the middle of the sun, because those two trees shading it are going to stress that tree out, Katie. You got to understand that is it probably wasn't a big deal. But the other thing I want to point out a couple of things that are really important is first and foremost, you got it wherever you're seeing tissue where the tree is completely exfoliated on the trunk tissue, that particular area no longer is attached to the vital physiology of the tree. What that means is essentially the only living tissue on, oh, wow. You're not even seeing what I'm seeing. My bad, y'all. Essentially, all the living tissue is on the outer 1 to 2 layers of the tree. And so wherever you've got areas like this where you've lost a ton of bark, I don't have good hope for that. Realistically, if you and I lost like 60, 70, 80% of our vascular system, we wouldn't do well either. And your tree's no different. And so let me just kind of draw. I'm going to go big screen now. I want to show you kind of what I'm talking about here. Sorry, guys. I'm trying not to cough into the microphone too much. That's gross. Y'all don't want to hear that. But I'm looking at the tree from the top down here, right? So what's happening as the tree grows, it's growing in these layers. So it's expanding in diameter. And each one of those diameters that expands has these little tiny tubes that run essentially from the root system up to the upper canopy, up to the branches and leaves and sticks and twigs and all that. And if we were to look at a microscope, you're actually going to see little tiny vessels. And essentially that is the tree's vascular system. We call it the cambium. And so essentially you can, let's say we were looking at a tree, you can almost draw a line from a little leaf on the end. I hope that looks like a leaf to you guys. You can almost draw a line all the way down to a root fiber somewhere down in the soil. And so those are all those little vessels, we call them, or vesicles. And essentially, if you've lost that whole area and there's no more bark, there's no more vascular tissue or cambium tissue, then it's toast. It's like if you were to take your arm and cut all of the vessels, you know, all of the veins and vessels and all that going down to your arm, you're probably not going to be able to keep your arm for very much longer, right? And so the same thing happens with your trees, is whenever you lose that bark on the outer 1 to 2 layers, unfortunately, that's essentially your tree's vascular system. So I would say you probably don't have a long time. Now, if you wanted to do some things to help keep it alive a little bit longer, let me leave you a couple different options. And first of all, you got to diagnose what's going on. Is you've got to figure out exactly what pests or pathogens are attacking the tree. And again, broken record all up in this house is you want to go to your local agriculture extension. That's going to be your best bet. You got to check with them and find out exactly what's going on. Now, I see borers, B-O-R-E-R-S, boring insects. These are insects that lay their eggs inside of the tree. The larvae grow up and they essentially tunnel through and eat the living tissue. So I wonder how much of that is going on here. But the other thing too is it could be a fungal pathogen as well. And if you've got fungal issues, you got to slow down. You got to do two things. You got to slow down your irrigation, number one. You got to make sure the soil dries out. And the other thing too is you want to reculture the soil. So the first product I'm going to give you is called MicroLife Ocean Harvest. This is a really good, just generic health booster type product. The other one I want to give you is a bacterial solution. These bacteria will actually eat the living pathogens that are destroying your tree. And the last one I want to give you is called Humates Plus. Humates Plus is basically humic acid and fulvic acid in liquid form. This is like super concentrated steroids, if you will. And all of these things are going to go a long ways to helping the tree grow and thrive and live. And they're really important. So go ahead and hit them with those guys. Oops, I need to do that one, that last one. The MicroLife Liquid AF. Believe it or not, the AF does not stand for what you think it does. Get your mind out of the gutter, y'all. But what it does stand for is antifungal. That's funny. It's antifungal. So AF is essentially bacteria that is that's designed to, let me see if I can just pull it up for you guys. Check this out. This is super cool. Come on now. Look at this. All these, I think there's 11 different bacterium. Trichoderma, by the way, is the one that's studied the most to essentially be heterotrophic, which means it eats everything except itself. That's my summation. That's not actually what the definition is, but trichoderma is the most studied one when it comes to antifungal properties. But all of these guys are going to not just that, but they're going to reculture the soil to be a healthy, conducive growing environment for your tree. So when we look at this, I think this is it. Nope, that's not it. Sorry, that was crazy. So when we look at your trees here, you got a lot going on. I don't think they're going to make it long term, but what you can do is extend the life with these products, and you can start planting something now that's going to live and grow and thrive for many, 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 many years and decades and generations. And of course, if you want a little closer look on your trees, I'm happy to take a look at it in person. We could do a digital arborist consultation, figure out exactly what's going on with your trees, and see if we can come up with a great solution for you. So, hey, thanks so much for the question, Katie, and hope that helps. But like I said, if you have other questions, hit us up on the web at arboristonaman.com, and we'll see if we can help you out. So with that being said, let's get back to John's question. John Quinn is asking, in the spring, I bought a majestic ash tree, and I'm in Arizona. It's been over 100 to 108 for a couple of weeks. I've been giving it 15 to 20 gallons of water 3 or 4 times a week, getting brown leaves on the lower part and the good green on top part of the tree. It gets full sun all day long. Oh my goodness. So when did you plant it? That's my big question, is when did you plant it? Because realistically in Arizona, you want to plant it in the fall time if you can. If you plant it in the heat of summer like this, it's just going to struggle. It's really going to struggle. And I don't know exactly where in Arizona you are, but I understand a lot of Arizona is high desert and desert. And so if you're dealing with like a sandy type soil, all that water is going to leach down through the soil very rapidly. So even though you're doing it 4 times a week, April. Okay, you planted it April. So that is very late for Arizona to be planting a tree. And I'm really sorry. I may be the bearer of bad news here, but you may be fighting a really uphill battle. Now, here's what you can do: is you can do what's called the scratch test. Let me see if I can find it for you. Scratch. Here we go. 1 second while my interwebs load. I gotta remember. I always wind up after these live streams with like 3 tabs open. Finalmente. Am I on here? Okay. That was Spanish for finally. Finally, because it loaded. Okay, so Santan Valley. I don't know what the soil type is, but let me see if I can look it up. AI, what's up, robots? Mixture sandy loam and clay loam soil. That's actually not bad. These classic central Arizona desert soils. It's not as sandy as what I was thinking, but you still got a high. Oh, good. Clay's good. Clay's a very good thing. So my question is how much water is retained? Not just how much water are you putting down, how much water is staying? Because if you've got a clay soil, that changes everything. Some of these new build homes, you get like this builder grade clay that they come in. It's got to have like a high PSI so that it holds the house up. Typically up to 3,000 PSI is what the soil has to be rated at. And that's very, 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 very bad for trees. Great for your house because it keeps the foundation up, keeps your house up in the air. But a lot of times that can actually be a really big problem for your trees, because what will happen is you'll get what we call the teacup effect. So I'm wondering if that's what is going on. I'm going to give you a couple different videos here. But essentially, the teacup effect is where you've got a tree, you plant it in the ground, right? Here's your ground, here's your tree. So you got this tree in here. Hopefully, you planted it at a level where the root ball is, or the root flare is above ground. That's very important, John. And what'll happen though is, let's say you get this really, really, really tightly packed clay over here, and then you come in with this nice fluffy soil from the nursery. And oh, I have to answer this, you guys. This is the hospital. Okay, I'm back. Sorry, guys. That was horrible. Horrible timing. I've been waiting on them to call all stinking day, and they call right in the middle of this live stream. But back to what we were talking about. And the warranty is expired. Yeah, the warranty is expired on my Achilles. I'm getting old, you guys. So good call, Jen. Yeah. What a mess. So anyways, back to this. What we were talking about was the teacup effect. So a lot of times water always wants to go. Hope you're still here with me, John. I'm sorry about the distraction there, buddy. But a lot of times it's called the teacup effect. So what'll happen, water wants to go from high pressure to low pressure. And when you put this brand new tree in, oftentimes they come from this ideal growing condition where you've got a nice, fluffy, organically rich, welcome back, thank you, organically rich soil that the tree was grown in. They do that because they want to get the maximum result, get a big tree that they could sell you for more money. And so, but when you put that nice, fluffy green soil in there and you put it in your hard packed clay surrounding, because it's a new house or new development or whatever, the water wants to go from high pressure to low pressure. And what'll happen is it winds up pooling into the actual planting site. This can be detrimental. You try holding your head underwater for days on end. It's not going to work out well for you. I promise. Don't do that. That's not a recommendation, by the way. But, realistically, that teacup effect can be absolutely detrimental to new trees. So my question is it actually a lack of water or is it too much water? And I'm going to give you a simple couple of tests you can check with. First of all, you want to do what's called the scratch test, because brown leaves on an ash tree, that could totally be just early defoliation. That could be the tree's like, whoa, 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 whoa. We need to take a step back, get rid of these leaves, which are getting rid of too much water. Therefore, we can save water. So maybe too little water. The other test I want you to do is the screwdriver test. And I need to figure out where we put that. But you know what? Maybe this one's the right one. Screwdriver test. Are you overwatering your trees? There we go. That's what I needed. I love how it was working really well, my internet, and now it's not working really well, my internet. Okay, so this is called scratch, or the scrubber test. First video I linked to you, John, was the scratch test. You want to scratch the bark first and check and see if it's actually living. If it's green and it comes back nice and healthy and green and soft, that's a good sign. That means the tissue's still alive. If it's brown and dry, that means you got to reset. Your tree's not going to make it, or at least that portion of the tree is not going to make it. So it's really important that you check things. Holy cow, my internet is so slow right now. This is ridiculous. I was just cranking at like 250 megabytes per second and on the download and 100 megabytes per upload. And now it's down to 47 and doing the upload test now. Should be around like 20 or something. Oh, gross. 10 megabytes per second. So I'm sorry if we're getting a bad signal, you guys. I'm trying. Let me see if I can do this and lower the quality a little bit and see if that helps. Oh, yeah, it's on full 1080. All right, let's lower the quality. Welcome back. What's up, y'all? Well, now we got terrible quality, but the upload speed is actually 68.22 megabytes per second. So we're okay. You see, I'm checking this real time. I'm multitasking like a boss over here. Not really. I just trying to make myself feel better, you guys. Yes. So I hope that helps, John. Do those two tests. Use that screwdriver, jam it in the ground before you water, and see if you're watering too much or if you're watering not enough. That'll tell you a lot. And then do that scratch test to see if the tissue is living or unalived. If it's unalived, I'm so sorry, but what are you going to do? All right. So let's move on to our next victim or question. Sorry. This one comes from Lynn. No, this one comes from Mike. No, that's not right. That's not right either. This is ridiculous, you guys. Hold on. Oh, cool. Wow, that's crazy. Lynn wants advice on the pruning job done to her tree. This is a lychee tree in Hawaii. A general yard maintenance person offered to prune my tree, so I said, why not? Well, you're looking at why not. This is a technique called topping or heading. And this is no good at all. Should I prune the short bare branches on my Hawaii lychee tree? I would say leave everything alone for the next like 3 to 5 years. The problem is they topped that tree. Now, trees don't operate exactly like humans. They operate a little bit differently. They operate with cambium tissue. We operate with cell replacement tissue. So, for example, if you and I get a cut, our bodies are going to replace it. You get scar tissue, you get the wound sealing over, and then you're not like really growing out over it. Trees don't have the ability to heal like that. So what they do is instead they seal wounds. And so what that means is what they're basically walling it off and growing around it. And so whenever you cut those trees, or whenever your landscaper did, they basically cut into woody tissue. Now that woody tissue does not have the ability to seal over wounds. And so what has to happen is the tree has to regrow what we call callus wood tissue before it's able to seal those wounds. And that's going to take a very long time, sometimes 5-10 years even on wounds like that. And so in that meantime, fungal pathogens have ample opportunity to get in there, start taking over the tree and really making a mess of things. So what is this garbage? Related posts? Why is that? I don't know why it's doing that. Anyways, there's actually new growth happening after 2 weeks. Should I call him back to request the additional cuts to eliminate the strange protruding branches? No, 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 no. Leave your tree alone. If you need to stunt the growth, use a chemical, and you got to find an arborist. Get rid of those guys. By the way, I got some really good arborists in Hawaii that I know, so feel free to shoot me a message. I'm happy to get you connected with them. I will not do that publicly, but if you send me a direct message, I'll help you out. But yeah, we don't cut giant trunks in half and call it a pollard. Topping opens heartwood to decay. That's exactly right. Tough Sustainable Cities is awesome. They know their stuff too, by the way. Topped twice. This poor tree will be lucky if it lives. I agree. Top just below the old top marks for better results. Then have it reduced with reduction cuts rather than heading cuts. No, leave it alone. That's not expert advice. No, 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 no. No, my goodness. Or you can keep it low and bushy and maybe get fruit again eventually if you fertilize it, preferably with an organic fertilizer with like composted chicken. Who are you, Dusty? What are you talking about? This is terrible advice. Lynn, do not listen to this advice. Top just below the old top marks for better results. What? You're talking about removing more woody tissue. No, this tree is in extreme decline. Dusty Moots, I'm sorry, you don't know what you're talking about. ISA certified arborist. So here's the thing about ISA certified arborist, guys. I trust maybe 2% of them to take care of my personal trees, and this is proof positive. This is terrible, terrible, terrible advice. Lynn, I'm sorry, you're getting bad advice. Do not trust this advice. It is bad advice, and he may be a great guy. He loves Jesus like me, and therefore he's my brother in Christ. That's great. Family loving, all about family loving. My family is the most important to me at all. Like they're more important than everything else other than Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. But Dusty, you got bad advice. Do not, whatever you do, Lynn, do not fertilize that tree. Stressed trees, when you pump nitrogen into them, will promote new growth. You need to stop new green growth. You need to start sealing growth. You need to help that woody tissue to seal over those woods. Yeah, if you want to stunt the growth, you can use a chemical called paclobutrazole. I'll go ahead and write that in there. I don't think I can actually. Oh, yes. Okay, so yeah, paclobutrazol is a tree growth regulator. It basically shuts down the hormone that's produced in the roots that causes the branches to grow in length. So I'm sorry, Dusty Moots, that's not, he's not a group expert. Lives in Mountain View, Hawaii, married to, that's great. I love it, Dusty. You seem like a great guy, but this is terrible, 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 terrible growth. No, don't fertilize it. Do not fertilize stress trees, y'all. That is the last thing you want to do, except in rare circumstances. Never, ever, 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 ever fertilize a stress tree. And when when your landscapers, not you, Lin, when your landscapers top that tree, they just stressed the ever living daylights out of it. You've got to leave it alone, let it redevelop the canopy. If you want to keep it stunted and keep it at that lower height, that's great. Use paclobutrazol. Do not fertilize this with nitrogen. That's going to stimulate new growth, and that can actually put your tree under very quickly. By the way, I do agree with Dusty Moot's comment about organic. Organic is better because inorganic fertilizers are basically salts. And so if you've got a stressed tree, it does not need salt to remove water from the cells of that tree. So whatever you do, Lin, do not fertilize that with a chemical nitrogen fertilizer. That is like the worst thing you can do. Sorry, I'm getting a little passionate about this. Like, wow, I love that, you know, you're reaching out, but yeah, leave her alone for 2 years. That's the best thing you could do. Seriously, just leave it the heck alone and let it reform the canopy. It has been butchered. By the way, you wouldn't hire your dentist to do your brain surgery, nor should you hire your landscaper to do your tree works. I'm sorry, but landscapers, in my experience, with some exceptions, y'all, have no idea how trees work and function. They just don't. They know how grass works. They know how to stimulate green growth in the grass, but they absolutely do not know how to take care of a tree properly. So hope that helps, Lynn. Sorry for a little fire behind my voice. You know, like, my goodness, that's just crazy talk, y'all. But anyways, let's move on to our next question. Looks like Mike is our next victim. What's up, Mike? Thanks for being here, buddy. Mike's asking, he wants to know what could be damaging his spruce and how to recover it. That is a really, really great question, Mike. And the answer is, I don't know. I know that's not the answer you wanted, but I think that's the most appropriate answer here. Let's take a look at it. This is accurate. Cody's absolutely spot on. Once the green growth unalives, it's going to have a real hard time, if it's even possible, to fill in that area. Just something to keep in mind. Spruce, by the look of it, it could be insects, could be fungus. Winter, yeah, maybe. Most. Let's see where you're from. Where you're from, Mike? Massachusetts. Yeah, so you'll get some cold weather. I doubt it would be that. I doubt it would be winter weather because, yes, absolutely. Absolutely, it could be winter if it were here in Texas and we got a whole hard cold snap. But up there, you're probably okay. It's probably not winter. What I would maybe suggest is maybe look into like mites or fungal pathogens, taking advantage of it. And again, broken record all up in this mug, y'all, is go to your local agriculture extension. That is absolutely going to be your best bet because they are the experts at diagnosing it. And sometimes your arborists locally will be able to diagnose it pretty good. But when I look at that, I see spider mites. Just the pattern of attack that whatever's attacking it is going for. One thing that you can do, and this is really cheap and easy, is a super cool test, is just take a blank, boring white sheet of paper, take the branch and just shake it over that paper. Just shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it. And then what you're going to do is look at it. And that's it. You're better off going to Amazon, getting a little hand lens, a little microphone, or not microphone. This is a microphone, magnifying glass, whatever words are. Take a magnifying glass. What you're looking for is little creepy crawlers that have 8 legs, specifically 8 legs. If you see 3 legs on them, 6 legs on them, don't worry about it. Those are not spider mites. Those are just critters. They're just living their best life on your tree. But spider mites will actually do damage. They'll what they do, they've got piercing and chewing mouth parts. They'll eat the cells on a cellular level. So they'll do damage. One of them, not a big deal. But when you get like 5 million of them on your tree, that's overemphasis, over dramatization. But they can do some serious damage like that. Abamectin is good. Imamectin benzoate's good for mite damage. But number one most important thing is prescription without diagnosis is malpractice. So get with your local agriculture extension. Click that link right there. Go talk to those guys because they're going to be the foremost experts on what's going on in your community right now. So hope that helps, man. And we are moving on. Where's my next one? Here we go. Pete. What's up, Pete? All right. Pete has a weeping cherry that isn't doing well and wants to help it out if it'll ever load. I've got a dreadful weeping cherry. How can I help it? All varieties, powdery mildew in my general region. Well, powdery mildew is not a directly a fungus problem. Powdery mildew is actually an insect problem that causes a fungus problem. So I don't know if that's it. What a mess. If you're trying to develop skills in the area of pruning, then maybe take this on as a learning experience. No, you don't prune to help trees out. Although you do got to get rid of that unalive tissue. Let's see what's going on with Pete's tree. By the way, Pete, great name. Your last name is my middle name. And also, I was born in Bryan, Texas. So that's pretty cool. What's up, neighbor? The leaves actually look really good. I'm seeing good, healthy leaves. Ooh, you got borer damage, dude. It's really hard to see, but I see some little holes like there. And I see like there. And I see like there and there. And I see like there, maybe some bleeding wound cankers too. So you got some borer damage. That's not ideal, but it's not the end all be all. What I do think maybe is going on too is you probably got some fungal issues going on here. Maybe. I don't really see a whole lot. The leaves look brilliant. I mean, just absolutely beautiful green. I don't know what you're doing to them. Those don't, though. Those look chlorotic and sickly. So that's not ideal. Now, when I look at this, I see a couple things going on here. I see bleeding wound cankers. I see borer exit wounds periodically. Not a lot, but enough to call it and say that's probably something we should look at. What I don't see is the root flare. So, Pete, if you could do me a huge favor and post pictures of the root flare, that would be really, really helpful. All varieties have suffered from powdery mildew. Yeah, but Sean, there's no powdery mildew. The leaves look brilliant. Those are perfect. So I don't know what you're talking about. No, just because you're experiencing that doesn't mean he is. And you're in British Columbia, man. That's like a whole world away from Bryan, Texas. Bryan, Texas is right next to College Station. That's Texas A&M, y'all. It's not good. Sorry, guys. I'm cracking me up here. So I hope I'm doing the same with y'all. I agree with Karlek, Jenna Slumpy. Man, you got a crazy cool name, Karlek. Remove the unalive limbs and begin reshaping it next year. I want to see the root flare, though, Pete. I want to see what's going on at the base of this tree because it looks to me, and I could be wrong, but it really looks like they may be buried. And if the root flares are buried, that's going to be the beginning of all of the rest of the tree's problem. It really is because if you've got girdling roots that are coming around there, that root flare, believe it or not, takes up oxygen. It helps the tree breathe. So when they're covered, it's going to put a slow and steady stress on it. That's going to tell all of those pathogens, hey, come on in. We got a nice stressed tree to take advantage of, y'all. It's free buffet. And so it's just like they call it flu season, right? When we get into winter. But the reality of the matter is it's overeat, overdrink, under vitamin D season, over stress season. You got all these different stressors going on. We buy kids gifts that we can't afford on credit. Then we go into debt. Now we're all stressed out because of that. We eat a bunch of junk food at Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever you happen to celebrate. And then we go get wasted on January 1st and probably a lot of times before that too. And now our bodies are stressed. And then all of a sudden we're like, I don't know what happened. I got the COVID. I don't know what happened. I got the flu. And it turns out when you stress your body out, your body's busy dealing with those stressors instead of fighting off infections. So right now, just go and look in the mirror. I want you to look at your face. You have staph infection on your face. Whoever you are listening, you have staph infection on your face and on your arms and on your entire body right now. But you're doing just fine, right? Am I right? It's probably you don't have sepsis, probably you don't have gangrene, you don't have staphylococcus infection, but you definitely have those pathogens there. So the fact that the beetles are coming in and the fungus is coming in and all these things are coming in tells me you got a really stressed tree, and we got to figure out what's stressing that tree out. Now, the number one stressor that I see out in the field is compacted soil. And if you're in Bryan College Station, you got terrible soil. I'm just saying, you got a sandy soil. It's probably compacted. I don't know what's going on if you're doing herbicides and things like that. I don't see that. I don't suspect that. But I imagine the root flares are probably buried. That's going to stress it out. If you got a compacted soil, that's going to stress it out. I know we've had some freeze events. That's going to stress it out. All these things are going to have an impact on that tree. And all of a sudden, all the pests and pathogens come in and they're like, hey, what's up? There's a victim right there. We're going to go take advantage of it. And just think to like all the National Geographic shows you ever watch where you got this lion chasing the wildebeest or the alligator coming up and eating the wildebeest out of it. It's never the alphas. It's never the pack leaders and the guys at the front taking charge and outrunning the rest of the pack. It's always the sickly ones that get eaten first. And I think that's what's going on with your tree here. So, you know, if you want, I'm happy to get on a digital arborist consultation with you. I think that's going to be the best bet, is we really need to take a look at this a little closer. Just hit us up on the web at arboristondemand.com. Oops. ondemand.com. And you can set up a digital arborist consultation with me, and we'll figure out exactly what's going on. But get with the Texas AgriLife Extension too, because they're going to help point you in the right direction also. And I know Texas A&M AgriLife Extension, Texas AgriLife Extension, plant pathology. Oops. These are guys that you want to get to know. It turns out they're actually right in your backyard in College Station. So they're not far from you. And you got some of the best plant pathologists on this planet. Stephanie Adams just came on board. She used to be with the University of Florida. She's now here in Texas playing around with things. And she is just an absolute wealth of knowledge. I've known her for about 10, 15 years. I don't even know. But she's a really, really, really good plant pathologist, and she's here right in our backyard. So if you get a hold of her, great. You probably can't, but a lot of her proteges are amazing as well. And they'll help guide you in the right direction. But again, if you want a little closer look, let's get on a digital arborist consult and take a look at it, figure out what's going on. Hope that helps, bud. And I am moving on. Doug, we got Doug's ginkgo tree. That's cool. I love ginkgo trees, by the way. They're not living fossils. They're just awesome. Everybody's like, millions of years is like, okay, prove it. Were you there? I wasn't there. We have a large ginkgo tree, which has a substantial amount of lichen growth, which I hadn't noticed before. Where are you at? Doug Hill. Wow. Okay. Hadn't noticed before. I also noticed today gaps in the bark where it appears there may be fungal growth soft enough to sink a fingernail into. That's not good. Oh, goodness. We had a late freeze, which unalived all the leaf growth when the tree was entirely leafed out. That stinks. It's finally leafed out again. There's nothing you can do about that either. Finally leafed out again, but might this late freeze have possibly stressed the tree? Is the lichen growth and gaps in the bark of serious concern? Thank you in advance for your insights. Well, I got to say this, is your root flares look amazing. However, that being said, your grass also looks amazing. I'm wondering, well, I don't think so, actually. I don't think you use like a weed and feed product, but if you do, Doug, that may be a big culprit of it. Yes, the freeze stressed your tree out. Yes, we were just talking, backtrack about 5 minutes. We were just talking about how stressed trees get sick, healthy trees stay healthy. And think of it just like this is like, you know, it's not flu season. It's overeat, overdrink, overstress season. Even when COVID was rolling around, they're like, trust the science, trust the science. And then they're like, oh, wait, it's all the elderly and the autoimmune and immune compromised. Those are the ones that are getting sick and unaliving. It's not the healthy. You don't have anything to worry about. And so it's same with trees. Is trees that are stressed are going to start to have problems. Now, the good news is trees are way better survivors than you and I. So just because you got a fungal pathogen and they're taking over does not mean that you've got an unalived tree. Let me give you a video. Let's see. Give me just a minute here, Doug. I got to figure out what this video is. I still can't believe the hospital called me right in the middle of our live stream. That's just so rude. I got too many videos in here, y'all. How to detect hidden decay. Okay, so this is one thing that you're going to want to do. And then there's another thing here. So what you can do, Doug, is you can actually get like a sounding mallet, and it's really cheap. A rawhide is best. You can even use like a rubber mallet. That's great. Oh, that was recent. That was a few days ago. That was about a week ago. Okay. So yeah, you want to use a sounding mallet to see if you're here in my area, and I don't know, you can actually use a sonic tomograph, one of these bad boys, to detect and see how far the damage is. But again, we got to figure out what plant pathogen is in your tree attacking it right now. So let me give you that agriculture extension. That's going to really help. You want to get in touch with those guys. Just pick on or click on it. Don't pick on it. That's rude. Don't be a bully, man. Click on that link and find your local agriculture extension and reach out to them. And they're going to basically lead you into their plant pathology lab center. And they're going to ask you to send a sample. So cut off some of the mushrooms, send it into them, find out what it is, and report back to me and let me know what you think or what they say. But hidden decay is really important. The other video I wanted to show you is the sonic tomography. Oh, there's another good one too. Yeah, that one. Oops. I'm dying here, you guys. I'm dying here. But that's just because we live in a fallen world. So if you're here local, I'd love to help do a tomograph on it and see what's going on. But the main thing is prescription without diagnosis is indeed malpractice. So don't go trying to figure out what fungus it is. Make sure you absolutely know. That's going to be really, really important. Did I just post the same video twice? Yeah, that's good. Okay, yeah. So that's going to be really important to make sure you get a good diagnosis on it and make sure you're going in the right direction, because if it's something that's going to unalive your tree anyways, it doesn't make sense to, it doesn't make any sense at all to go ahead and try to treat it and all that. What really makes sense is we got to figure out what it is first. And if it's something that's treatable and curable, great. Let's start to work forward and see if we can help. But I'll leave you my website as well. And I'm happy to take a closer look at it. Just click on the website and just sign up for a digital arborist consultation. It's like $90, but there's a code in there. If you wait just a minute on the link, there's a code for 20% off. So do that, and let's take a closer look and figure out what it is. That's a super cool looking ginkgo tree. So if we can save it, I'd love to help you out, buddy. All right, we're moving on. And the next one is, this looks like Gail talking about her black gum tree. Oops, did I click on the right one? Nope, I did not. If any of y'all are nerds like me, whenever I see the name Gale, I look at Gale. I think of Gale Force Winds. Sidetrack, you know. Bunny trails for days, y'all. I promise you, I got you covered on bunny trails. If you were wondering, if you wanted to know, if you want a bunny trails, I got you. Yeah, they're like, oh, you got ADD, and I'm like, nah, probably. Hey, what's that squirrel over there? Okay, so Gail's asking, what are these cracks? What to do about the cracks and soft bark on a black gum tree? Just noticed this on my black gum tree. The rest of the tree looks great, and the leaves are gorgeous. This is the south side of the tree. Oh, that could be like frost cracking. Sometimes when you get and it happens more often on the south side than any other side, but you'll get the sun will come in and warm it up really quick after a freeze. I don't know where you're from, but there are insects in the soft area. Should this be addressed by an arborist? Yeah, probably. But what I want to say before that is we got to figure out what's going on. So first and foremost, again, prescription without diagnosis is malpractice. If you can take the beetles, capture some of them, put them in a little bottle or whatever, the bugs, whatever it is, then get back to us with a picture of that, and let's see if maybe we can figure it out. Bit like cherry, but black gum juveniles can also have that smooth bark appearance for years. That's perfectly normal. Yes, I agree with Andre. Oh man, I'm getting tired, aren't I? I agree with Andre. You got a problem with the root flares. Lime dries and rids tree insects. That's true, but you don't want to just go spraying lime. That's not safe. This looks like a wound created when the tree was dug, moved, transplanted. That's what I was wondering. Is it frost cracking or is it mechanical damage? Did something bump it and cause that? And you get these little strips of where the decay started and now the tree's sealing over. I will say this, Gail, is when I look at this, I actually see this has been going on for a very long time, probably a couple of years or more. You can kind of see all this new growth. We call this callus wood tissue. And that is the tree doing exactly what it's supposed to, which is sealing off that wound. Now, if we just stopped looking at this tree for like 20 years, nothing changed, nothing got weird, nothing got damaged, then realistically, and the tree was going in the right direction and continued that sealing, then you probably would have a hard time noticing that big crack to begin with. It would have sealed over all the way. But you've got a really big issue with this, and it looks like a smaller tree too. So young tree, probably transplanted, probably bumped when it was moved, and maybe even at the nursery. And then it was planted just barely too deep, like maybe half an inch or an inch too deep. So what you want to do is pull all that bark away from there. Make sure that you don't have any roots that are wrapping around and girdling the tree. That's going to be really important too. And let me see if I can find you a video. How to remove girdling roots. I'm going to open that one too. I'll give you a couple videos. First one is, if it'll ever load, is what you're looking for. And so this is really common. Nurseries, by the way, y'all, nurseries actually have their own industry standards. They go by ANSI Z60.1 standards. And I have yet to meet a nursery person or a nursery in general that follows their own rules. Most of them don't even know that there are rules to begin with. So it's just sad. It depresses me a little, is that whatever happened to good men doing good quality work and taking pride in their good quality work? I just hate that. In fact, I live in a house that is basically, it's just falling apart. Brand new house built November 2023, I believe. I think November 23, maybe 24. Brand new house, and it is just absolute trash. It is falling apart. We've had foundation issues. We've had roof issues. The other day it rained a little bit and we got water leaking through the roof. And it's one of those where they sprayed the attic with foam. We don't even know where the roof leaks are. Like, so fast forward 5 years, this house is going to be riddled with mold. Thank God we rent, and it's not going to be my problem or my family's problem, but it's a big problem. And so the same thing goes with nursery guys. Usually they do it wrong at the nursery. They plant them in these really hard packed clays or these really hard packed areas. The roots start growing and they don't transfer them to step them up to a bigger container as they grow. So what'll happen is you'll get these root bound trees. And a lot of times you'll get these girdling roots. So if the root flares, not Blairs, the root Blair Witch projects, the root flares are not buried. Oh, yes, we do. Okay. I'm really glad. Yeah, Doug. Thank you. You're welcome, Doug. Happy to help, buddy. Hope that helps, man. And good. I love to hear that there's no weed and feed. Very good. Hey, and thanks for joining me on the live stream, buddy. That's fantastic. Arboristondemand.com. Thank you, Sammy. Yes, we do. Good. I'm always paranoid about that after our issues, but I did change out the plug, so it should be better. But if like yell and scream, wave, flail your arms, let me know if we run into any issues like that. Anyways, hey, squirrel over there, y'all. Did you see it? That's crazy. So anyways, Gail, I think you've got a mechanical damage issue going on, probably from the nursery or maybe when it was planted. I don't know. Maybe a little more context would help. But I don't see it as a big problem. I do see that the tree is sealing very well. And you can do a few things to give it kind of an extra boost. And let me give you a couple resources you can use. But the main thing is just make sure it's healthy and thriving. Humic acid is one of my favorite things to use. I don't know exactly where you're at, but it pretty much works anywhere. If you're in a sandy soil, it's going to feed the microbes and it's going to soak up salt. If you're in a clay soil, it's going to feed the microbes and it's going to break up the clay and allow more pore space for air. Humic acid is like my favorite thing to use. It's kind of like just taking some vitamin C. It's just going to help every single thing. So that's a great one. You can get it from me or you can get it from somebody else. I don't care. But there's a great resource for you. The other thing too that I really like is is a product called Microlife Humates Plus. And Humates Plus is, again, it's another one of those wonderful products that it's just a really good overall tree treatment. It's going to give a little bit of nitrogen, a little bit of phosphorus, a little bit of potassium, but it's going to have some really good biostimulant properties that are going to feed the microbes and stimulate good root development. So those are some great options for you. But of course, if you want a closer look, feel free to hit us up on the web at arboristondemand.com and we can schedule a digital consultation. So hope that helps. Gale Force wins and we are moving on. Thanks for coming and joining our group. All right, where are we at? I think we got two more that we're going to go over, y'all. So Roy here wants to know if he can save his dogwood. Let's check out Roy's tree. What you got, Roy? Meanwhile, let me get a drink of water because I'm parched. Pinky out always. All right. Wow, that's a cool dogwood tree, Roy. That's amazing. And it looks like you're being pretty proactive about it. So it looks like maybe you've got a pretty good shot. Let's take a look at it. So new homeowner here in Georgia, not far from Atlanta. I have dogwood tree in my front yard. Looks super unhealthy and looks like it hasn't been pruned in years. Still has a lot of new growth, but tons of dead wood. Limbs that should have been removed long ago. The trunk has a decent bit of rot on one side, but still has some new growth off that limb. Does it look like the tree can be saved? I'm hoping after a couple of years of pruning, it can bounce back. Let's clear one thing out first and foremost, Roy. Pruning is, we call them pruning wounds. It does not help your tree. Pruning is, with the exception of unalive tissue, pruning does exactly nothing to improve the health of the tree. It actually stresses the tree out every time you make a pruning wound. So don't think for a second that you're going to make the tree healthier by pruning it, unless you're just getting rid of some dead wood. That's whatever. Dogwoods call for mulcher on the base. Is it worth replacing the rocks? Yes. Yes, yes. For the love of all things holy, please replace the rocks. You want to go as far out as you can. By the way, or Solia, I don't even know, Miss Lazar is a really, really good arborist, and she's spot on. Get rid of those rocks. Let me give you another video. As always, I got a video for just about everything. Rocks are not mulch. Now, if you're in the Pacific Northwest and you get really cold weather, rocks can sometimes help warm up the soil a little bit. If you're in the frozen tundras of wherever, sometimes that can help. But yeah, it almost never, you guys, are rocks a good idea around trees. Only on rare occasions is that so. So you got to get rid of the rocks. They're no good. Miss Lazar's spot on. And the thing is I got a great resource for you. You're going to love this. Is www.chipdrop.com is a really good resource for you. If you want some free wood chips or extremely cheap wood chips, there's your source right there. Now, the other thing I notice, Roy, is you've got really beautiful, green, healthy lawn. I say healthy. That may be not true at all. But what I don't see is a bunch of weeds everywhere. So I'm really wondering, are you using a weeding feed, buddy? Because here's the thing. You got all these little sprouts coming up, and we just did a video on sprouts and how they can be a sign of stress. So when I see that, that's just a really good symptom that we got some stressors going on. You've got a bunch of problems elsewhere where you got some unalive backs and dieback going on, and possibly even some girdling roots. So when you remove those rocks, Roy, I want to make sure that you actually expose a little bit more of that root flare on this side, because sometimes you can even go so far as to draw a line from where the root is constricting the growth of the tree and where the dieback is up in the canopy. It's really common. And in fact, I was telling a story. So I had some kickback, pun intended, for all you tree guys out there. I had some kickback on a thing that I posted where I basically said, I'm sorry, Sammy. We're in Houston, though. These tree guys don't even speak English, so uh, they don't even know to sign up. It's in the wrong language, the whole website. Ugh, I'm sorry, that stinks. So I have been using Chip Drop for like, I don't know, 10 years now. When they first got started, Jamie, the guy that started, is a kind of a buddy of mine. And I did not pay for dumping for like 2 years. I had my guys sign up into my account, and they, you know, that's probably a security issue there. But my employees would sign up for my account, and they would go in and they'd just go to the Chip Drop location. And wherever they were, we were in Dallas. We had lots of areas we'd cover: Collin County, Dallas County, Tarrant County. We'd be all over the place. And no matter where they're at, the Chip Drop site is like 15 minutes away. That to me is way better than driving an hour to the dump site where we normally dump. So I'm sorry you dealt with that. That really stinks. But let me know, Sammy, too. I can have my guys bring some wood chips for you next time we're in the area. Yeah, so you got some decay here. To what extent, I don't know. But here's a cool test you could do. How to remove girdling roots. How to detect hidden decay. This is a really good, Roy, this is a good video for you to detect some of the decay and see what's going on in there. The rocks, they got to go. They just got to go, dude. Wait, is that the right one? Yes. Oh, that's not the right one. Hold on. You don't need to sign into my Google account. Sorry. Wrong link. Is it? Am I getting tired or what, you guys? This is crazy. But did my Chip Drop comment? Wow, it didn't post that either. That's weird. Yeah, mulch is your best friend. And the analogy I use is like God did it best. Walk into a forest. Do you see big rocks piled up real pretty around the trunk? No, you don't. Sometimes they can actually cut into the trunk and do damage. They can superheat it, especially being in Atlanta. Y'all get really hot like we do here in Houston. And so that can cause problems. But the big thing is it's not doing anything. It's not feeding the tree. It's not helping the tree. It's only going to just kind of be there, and it's not going to really provide any benefits. Mulch, on the other hand, is essentially going to feed the microbes, feed the soil, feed the tree. Think of it like cannibalism is like trees eat carbon. They eat carbon, they eat nitrogen, they eat oxygen. And so all of those things, most of those things are actually provided in the wood chips themselves. So think of it, we call it nutrient cycling, is sticks and debris and twigs and stuff fall from the forest. They fall down to the forest floor. Microbes eat them, break them down into their basic elements, and that in turn feeds the tree. By the way, those same microbes, a lot of them are actually going to chelate minerals. Yeah, that's right, Sammy. Free mulch. if nothing else, you know, at least you get free mulch. But basically, that nutrient cycling is a really important process. And when you put this nice green, lush, delicious landscape grass all around it, you're actually stunting the tree's ability to eat. And so you don't want to do that. You want to put like a mulch ring, go out as far as you can out to the edge of the drip line, right to the edges of the branches, and just go as far as you can. You know, obviously we live in nice homes and nice neighborhoods. We got HOAs that crawl down our backs periodically. So there's a lot of times when they're just going to mess you over, and you're limited on what you can do. But the wider you can go, the better off your tree is going to do overall. If there were a silver bullet for how to take care of trees and like just do this on every single tree and the world's going to be a better place, it would be organic mulch. I would go 1 to 2 inches of organic mulch on every single tree. If you want to up the ante a little bit, do a really thin, like 1/4 or 1/2 inch layer of compost just below that mulch, right before you put the mulch on top. That'll help the decomposition process and help those wood chips break down into better mulch and better food for the tree. So yeah, I think you got a stressed tree. You got a super old tree. The other thing I want you to do is just make sure that you don't have any girdling roots. And so you can dig down there a little bit and try to find, let's see, here we go. See if you've got girdling roots, because I do see little body language of the tree, just a little bit. On this side, it looks like, if you notice, Roy, on the right side here, as we're looking at it from this angle, you've got this big giant root flare. And then if I remember on the other side, you got the same thing going on. Yep, root flare there. Where's the other? Ah, here we go. Root flares all around. But then on this one side, it's something's blocking it down there. And I'd be willing to bet money that it's probably a girdling root or two. And so let me give you one other video. Girdling. Here we go. Sorry for my mouth noises, y'all. That may be the ADHD coming out of me. Yeah, so dig down there a little bit. See if you can find any roots that are cutting into the trunk and pull that dirt away from it. First of all, you got to expose the root flares. And other than that, I think you got an amazing looking tree. If you need help getting connected with a really, really top-notch arborist, let me know. I'm happy to reach out to some friends of mine and get you connected with them. But my website's arboristonman.com. And we can always do a digital arborist consultation as well and go into a little bit more detail. So hope that helps, Roy. And we are moving on. Last one, you guys. We made it this far. Y'all, thanks so much for hanging out and keeping on. This has been a great session and glad to have y'all with me. All right. Tracy wants the answers about her citrus tree that may be partially unaliving back. Saving an unaliving citrus tree after irrigation issues. Oh, goodness. Oh, man. So citrus, by the way, doesn't grow well in most parts of the world except Florida, Texas, South Texas, and like Southern California as well. So I assume you're probably in one of those areas. Oh, Tucson. Yeah, they do well in Tucson too, but you got to have plenty of irrigation because they get really hot and dry out in Tucson. I have the citrus tree that just started to look like this in the last month or so. It is on irrigation. The irrigation actually got turned off for maybe 2 or 3 weeks back in March, but other than that, nothing has changed. It did produce fruit, tangerine, that has just started falling off in the last 2 to 3 weeks. Look, half of it looks unalive and the other half looks normal to me. Is there anything I can do to save it? We just bought the house in September, but the landscaping has been very well cared for decades, and I don't want to be the one who ruined it. Let's check it out. I mean, you say that, but you got buried root flares for days. Let's see what the other cool kids are saying. Yeah. I'm wondering if that is, yep. Irrigation being turned off can definitely cause some serious problems. Buried too deep, I agree. Pull the mulch away from the trunk and soil if need be until the root collar is plainly visible. Fantastic observation, Tom. Thank you for that. I needed somebody to say that to make me feel better about it. Could have been overthin and maybe suffering sunburn. No, I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I don't see any sunscald here. I see a holistic systemic problem here. I think the irrigation being off is a problem, and you got to get those root flares exposed. That is so critically important, Tracy. Without that, they're going to suffocate just on a very, very, very slow and steady basis. It's not going to be the thing that puts your tree under. But you add that combined with a nice, good 2 to 3 week period of no water, and that can be a recipe for disaster, especially in a sandy soil. Hold on, let's check. Does Tucson have, Tucson, AZ have, what soil type does words sandy loam or desert loam? Yeah, so you're going to have extremely fast draining soil. So 2 to 3 weeks of no irrigation, and that means you're just super dry. Now, what I want you to do, I don't want you to call it quits yet, because I want you to do this scratch test. The scratch test is going to tell you whether or not, if I can find it, whether or not you are having issues. I do want you to expose the root flares, because that's going to really help to just take away some of the stressor on it. But before you go hack chopping and slicing all that unalived, dead, supposedly unalive tissue, I want you to do this scratch test. Here we go. Finally found it. Because the scratch test is going to tell you whether or not the tissue is actually unalived, or if the tree is just defoliating to preserve water. Because every day, y'all, every single day, those leaves are off gassing. They're putting off, we call it respiration. Just like you and I breathe, so does the tree. And so what it's doing is it's respiring. It's giving off water vapors and gas. And what that does is creates a negative pressure in the soil and in the tree that pulls moisture out of the soil. Think of it like a drinking straw. You're actually like sucking up, and that creates that pressure down below to draw the water or beer or whatever you're drinking up through the straw. And so basically, that if there's no water, the tree's going to get rid of those leaves, so it stops doing that. We call it early defoliation. We see it a lot in drought-stressed trees. Now, the problem is when they stay attached like that, we call that permanent wilting. So sometimes that can mean that that portion of the tree is completely gone. So I just want you to be prepared for that. That may be the case, but do that scratch test first before making a final decision. That's going to be really important, because if you just start hack chopping and slicing, you may be cutting off the tree tissue that's alive. The other thing I want to point out, though, is you do have this little patch here. And so do that scratch test up and on this section of the trunk and all those branches around. Just check and see is it green? Is it living tissue underneath the bark? Or is it brown and dry? If it's brown and dry, you probably got a dead limb or an unalive limb. If it's green and healthy and kind of soft, then that probably means that that portion is still alive. You're okay. I don't see any fungal issues. So to me, this is like 100% water issue. Or we call it abiotic. So it's not a living agent that's attacking it. But I do see this one patch. So if you've got this section of the tree is unalived, then I want you to send that sample off to your local agriculture extension and see if they can identify what pathogen is attacking it, because that very well may be the case. But to me, this looks like 100% abiotic, watering issues, drought issues, maybe even girdling root issues. So dig down there, get rid of that soil around the root flare to where you've got these nice big flares that come out and transition into root tissue. And once you do that, do the scratch test to test it and see if it's alive or it's unalived. And then maybe report back to me. Feel free to tag me in it. I'm Matt Latham, by the way, or you can tag Arborist on Demand in it. And we'll get to it. That'll get to me either way. But just check with that. The other thing too is make sure you're watering properly. So you've got a sandy soil. That sandy loam soil is going to drain really, really, really efficiently. So what I want you to do is add a product called humic acid. Humic acid is essentially composted compost. And what I'm linking you here is my absolute favorite brand. It's MicroLife. We make it right here in Houston. It's the San Jacinto Environmental Company. By far the best product that I've seen over the years. There's one actually that I like that I'm looking into that it's only the humic acid version of the products that they make, but I'll check back with you once I test that sufficiently. But yeah, humic acid is really, really good stuff. And basically what it's going to do is it's going to soak up a lot of the salts in your soil, and it's also going to make the soil more it's more ability, give the soil more ability to trap moisture and release that to the tree. Instead of all that water draining down, now it'll kind of be locked into those upper levels of the soil and allow the tree to access them more efficiently. And so that may be a really good thing you can do just like once a month or once a quarter over the next couple of years to try to revamp the soil a little bit and really feed those microbes as well. They're going to chelate the minerals the tree needs out of the soil also. So anyways, I'm sorry you're dealing with that. That really stinks, because that's just such a cool looking citrus tree. And I love oranges, tangerines, all the citruses. I was just drinking some citrus kombucha earlier, actually, for all you hippie dippy nerds like me. But anyways, I hope that helps. And yeah, what a mess. Really stinks. Of course, if you want, I'm happy to get on an arborist consultation with you. We can do that virtually. All the way over here from Houston, Texas to Tucson, Arizona, and take a closer look. Maybe have you run some tests while we're on the phone and figure out a good solution moving forward. So hope that helps, Tracy. You guys, with that, we're going to call it for the evening. I got to get on to dinner. I am starving, y'all. But it's been a great session. Thank you so much, Sammy, for being a part of this too and helping keep this organized. This is a really great format. Y'all, let me know what you think too. Just give me a comment down below in the comment section. Let me know how you like this new format instead of just going through directly and getting the last 5 or 10 questions that came through. We're trying to pick the ones that we think would impact you most. And Sammy did a wonderful job of putting that together. So thank you so much, Sammy, for helping out with that and for really being a great part of this team. With that, you guys, we're going to call it for the evening. We're going to try to get back on schedule Again, I got this stupid bum leg where I was doing Ninja Warrior things and I wound up ripping my Achilles in two. And so it's been a long couple of weeks for me, but we're kind of back on track, and we love you guys. And thank you for being a part of this group. And feel free to join us next time or drop your questions into the group chat. And we'll be sure and answer them the best we can, get you going in the right direction to take care of those green pets you love and live around. Thanks again. And we'll see you next time. Bye now.